You'll see I'm not alone in the studio. I got with me Prentiss. He is 16 years old. He's a rising star as a musician and an artist. And man, it's good to have you with us, Prentiss.
Thank you so much for having me.
I feel like you said earlier, off, there in the green room, you've been doing this for a few years. Like you haven't even been alive for that many years, and you're already, a rising star and taking things by storm. So let's go back to the beginning. Okay, so when, Prentiss, did you start to get into music?
Around when I was 11, I originally was into like video editing. So I would edit sports. I would edit like basketball clips and put them over like, music that I found, and it would just hit the beat right on time. And I think that's kind of where I found my love for like art in general. And from there, I was finding music on like SoundCloud and YouTube, like smaller communities. And I was like, wait, you don't have to like be in Los Angeles to do this. You don't even have to be in a studio to do this. So I picked up my phone, recorded my first song, and for the last like 5 years, I've just been like recording at the house. So
that was, you were 11?
11.
11?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Okay, I have a 10-year-old, so yes, I feel like I'm failing at parenting.
No. What I was doing at 11, I have my mom here to attest me. She thought she was failing.
No.
Bad grades in school. Wasn't really playing any sports. I was just really doing the music stuff.
Well, though, Prentiss, and this is off topic, but we have a lot of times we talk about the really cool stuff going on now with like gaming and it being able to be like you can go to college on scholarship for it. You've got all of this computer programming, IT kind of things. And so I try to tell parents, man, lean into what your kids are interested in and show them that there can be like a business of some kind behind it. It doesn't always necessarily have to follow in the way that we think. And, you're doing okay 4 or 5 years later. Let's put it that way. But you had something different than I guess some 11-year-olds didn't, which is you had the opportunity to put your gifts and talents out there digitally.
Yes.
Which for some do that, and then they're still trying to nickel and dime it or, get by with a few. It seems like you did that and skyrocketed. So do you remember the first time, I don't know, a viral video or a video that got attention from you singing or what that was or when that was? And what platform was it on? Make us all feel old.
So the first video I ever got reposted, and this was a crazy one. This is like still like a good majority of my fan base is from it today, had nothing to do with music. Not anything to do with music, really not anything to do with like arts or like, just all the media stuff. It was Barstool Sports, who like really at that point, they were really just like a sports podcast. Like they posted sports stuff and they reposted my thing.
What
like
was
my little video. It was a song I made at the house over like a instrumental I found on YouTube.
So it was like music, not necessarily lyrics? Or
it was lyrics, yeah. So it was lyrics as well. It's a song called October, and I took my phone with my video editing experience and I shot the music video in my backyard. And looking back, it's hilarious. Love it. Love what little 13-year-old Prentiss was doing. But they reposted it and they were like, this 13-year-old is the next SoundCloud legend. And I loved it. Like, I was at 13, I'd been on the internet for like 4 years, so I could take like the funny comments and stuff. They were like, oh, his uncle works for Barstool Sports or something, or they were calling me like young Post Malone. But yeah, that's kind of where I started to realize I could take this seriously.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just the young 13-year-old you were sitting here at 16. Oh my God. It's like, it's so funny because earlier this week, though, Prentiss, Rhino and I were sharing with everyone that I deleted my MySpace 15 years ago, which was like the primary place for people to get their music out or whatever. And now here you are with one tweet. Okay. So what platform did you choose? How did you choose when you decided, okay, maybe I could do this or people like what I'm trying to do? Because it is a little bit different. So actually, let's go back. How would you describe maybe your style? You mentioned Post Malone or some others sort of artists. If we're listening to good things, who do you feel like you kind of resemble? Or are you in the class of your own?
Every artist, especially nowadays, if you get them on a podcast, they're going to be like, oh, I'm in a class of my own. I created my own sound. I wouldn't say that. I would just say I'm inspired by a lot of different genres, inspired by some country artists, by Post Malone, inspired by some old rock stuff, inspired by the Beatles, inspired by like some punk rock stuff, inspired by a lot of the new rap music as well. So it's just a lot of that inspiration coming together. It still kind of falls under like the pop, alternative pop because that's where they put like The Weeknd and Post Malone and all the bigger artists under. But yeah, it goes across all genres.
Okay, so when you decided at the wise age of 13 that you could make this as a career for yourself, I'm poking fun at you only because I'm almost old enough to be your mother. And I love it though. And so, okay, where did you decide to sort of take it? Like, where did you decided to start?
So, it was really a weird way of starting because it had nothing to do with like wanting to get my music out there. Like I was making music for fun and I was posting it on SoundCloud just like I was doing with the edits. They were getting like 50 likes on Instagram. I decided to start putting it on, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, the big platforms, because my friends didn't have SoundCloud. And they were like, some of these songs I really like, and I want to hear them on the Spotify. So I logged into a DistroKid account, which is like basically like where you'd put music and they put it on Spotify. Had to lie about my age and everything, put in a fake social security number.
Oh my God! And your mom's here, okay.
Yeah, she already knows about that one. We're just hoping the federal agents don't.
They don't ever listen. It's no big deal.
All good. And yeah, from there, I just posted on Spotify and Apple Music, and a few months after that is when the Barstool thing happened. So it was really an accident. It still is an accident.
Well, sometimes, some of the best things are found are still an accident. What I love, though, is this all began because you were just expressing yourself, obviously illegally, but not in the worst way, and doing something you enjoy. And I think you had you were talking about you'd been on the internet for so long that you kind of had a thick skin to some of the comments. I also think that you looking at it as just, at your age, you can take those risks and why not? Like, what's the worst thing that, could sort of happen? Where once you get older, or if you would have waited, you probably would have taken it a little more seriously, and then you let your nerves and all of that sort of get in the way. Did you ever really, care is not the right word, but did you look at it as, let me just see what happens, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, and if it does, great, and, kind of carefree is the word I'm looking for, I think.
Well, so I guess so. Again, I didn't have a lot of care at that age. I was failing school, and again, not really in sports. But I did feel like I had something when it came to music. I just I would always put my friends on to newer music and stuff, and I was always hearing stuff that I liked and could put it together. So I knew I had an ear for it. The hard part at that point was figuring out how to get my voice working and figuring out how to learn production. And I'd gone 2 years into it with zero music theory at all. So I kind of had to learn it a little backwards.
So I'm curious, because you're obviously exceptionally bright, Prentiss, to be able to figure all of that out and get to where you are now. What was it about school? So you had the ability to make good grades.
Yes.
It obviously didn't interest you. Is that kind of like you were just bored?
Yes, bored. You can call it lazy. I don't know. I wasn't exactly in the right spot for school. The stuff I'm doing with school right now, I'm doing it through a homeschool, and I love it. I love subjects like history and science. I love learning about stuff. I guess maybe it was just the way I had to sit in a classroom for 7 hours. And again, that sounds lazy. It was pretty lazy. I got home and would hop on the video games and not do my homework at all. But I would make decent grades on the test. So I really just wasn't applying myself.
Well, I also think, though, you bring up a good point for other parents to maybe hear, which you're so lucky to have parents who at least acknowledge that maybe there was a different route or way for you, and that not all kids learn the same, and that some, it's not necessarily their intelligence or laziness, it's just not the right fit or sort of environment, and that, when changed up, then, they can thrive, and it feels like you're sort of thriving now. But, that's hope for those parents out there that's maybe it's for your kid. It's just the avenue in which they're having to be taught.
Yeah. And I feel like nowadays a lot of kids are sort of becoming like that. That's another thing. Social media hurts the attention span as well. So it's kind of hard to teach kids an hour into an hour class. You got to put different you got to do English
class. I'm glad
class.
You recognize that at 16.
You got to do English class. Put it in TikTok form. English class. Scroll down. You're on the history class, just learning a fun fact.
Well, as teachers who are good teachers are able to sort of take that and work it into the way that they do things. But man, I think you have definitely found your vibe, and I want to get more into Prentiss here on Good Things coming up next. other channel, you'll see I'm not alone. We're continuing our conversation with Prentiss. He is a 16-year-old singer out of Central Mississippi. He's a rising star. Did I read right that you just performed at Madison Square Garden?
I did not perform at Madison Square Garden, but Skrillex invited me out there because he was releasing a song that I was on, and they played a little snippet. Not really the snippet, but he put all the album into like 10 seconds and then promoted it at Madison Square Garden, and I got to see his whole live EDM set. It was like a rave like a New York rave in Madison Square Garden. It was incredible.
That is incredible. And what's your connection to Justin Bieber?
So I genuinely think it's Skrillex. I'm not like in constant talks with Justin Bieber, but the Skrillex thing happened like a year and a half, 2 years ago. He hit me on Instagram and I sent him a demo, and he made a song out of the demo that I had. And I guess he showed it to Justin Bieber, and that's how Justin Bieber found me. He was like, "This is cool." But I think it's Skrillex. I have no idea. Again, I don't really like communicate with him. But it's
one day we'll figure it out. We'll get Justin on the show.
Yeah,
we'll get you back on the show. We'll sort of figure out that connection. I don't think that'll be any problem. Y'all will be crossing paths soon. I feel like Prentiss at some form or fashion. Okay, I love your story though. 16 years old, and you talk as if you've been in this game for decades, and it's only been for the last like 5 years. But once you knew that this is what you wanted to do, and you were open about maybe your parents didn't necessarily understand at first or sort of see it. So behind the scenes, you were getting all your ducks in a row to present to your parents like, hey, I got a different path in life. So what were you doing behind the scenes to sort of set the stage for when you broke it to your parents you were going into the music business?
So it's kind of like anything you tell your parents. You start with hypotheticals, big what ifs. I hit them with what if I was to sign a record? Just huge what if movie things. I showed them like a hook or two, like some songs that I made, but honestly, I acted like it was just for fun. It really was just for fun, but I didn't really, I told them that I got hit by a manager on Instagram. After the Barstool Sports thing, I was getting hit by multiple different managers, like a lot of different people, and I found this guy out in Nashville that I really liked. Just very.
How did you vet him at 16?
This was 13.
At 13? So, but you're going to wind up being sold across the line in the back of a truck or something.
I thank myself so much. And not even just that. It sold into the music industry is damn near that. You get sold into, they try to make you some pop star.
Right.
And who knows what goes on behind the scenes there. But he was from Nashville. I could relate to him as a Mississippian. He was actually from Joshua Tree, California, which everything outside of LA and San Francisco there is basically the South. So he had, good morals, very good person. And I think I got lucky. Maybe it was just the littlest bit of intuition I had when I was 13, but I knew not to get anyone from LA. I would say 75% of the people that were hitting me, you go to their page, they're posting in front of LA pools with some Jordans on, stuff like that. Just the obvious get rich quick schemes.
Or just maybe not a good fit. Okay, so how did your parents take it whenever you came to them and said, hey, I've got a manager and I'm sort of doing this?
My parents are it makes them really great parents. They're very good at faking their emotions. They're like, oh, great, and it's something you kind of realize now, but listening back to how they felt back in the day, they felt the same way. They thought the same things you thought. How do we know this is a legit person? First of all, how do we know he's not just trying to sell my kid into the music industry and make a quick buck? Because there's a lot of managers like that nowadays. And then also, why in the world does he have any interest in my 13-year-old kid that is failing school right now?
Yeah. Well, but at least you did your due diligence, and it all came out on your help on your side well. But we would put that pause and red flag for anyone else who had that same sort of experience. Do your due diligence to sort of vet whoever may fall into that line. But it feels like it kind of all serendipitously, if that's a real word, kind of fell in line with you, Prentiss. And here we are now. So I know you're out not just doing your digital sort of music. You're also now performing in front of people. What was that first time like, from going from behind your cameras or doing it sort of on your platforms to a live audience?
So again, like I said earlier about learning the music thing backwards, I learned the love for performing way after I had the love for music. I was just having it to post it, and I wouldn't say I was like I was never scared of a stage. Like I'd go up in class and say my little poems and stuff. I just was like scared that people would want to sit for 45 minutes and watch me perform a set, especially with me being so young. The first show I ever did was emo night out in Los Angeles. Straight emo show. Punk bands, like it was like an older emo crowd, like from like, like to 2008, 2000. I'm sorry. No, older for emo. No. I mean older for like the emo crowd.
Rhino and I we are not offended. We are just having ourselves a moment. Yes.
I'm just making sure my mom isn't offended there. But yeah, just Dan
and Hattiesburg on our text lines laughing at you too, saying back in the day. We're making fun of the fact you're 16, but it feels like you've been in this industry for decades, and yet it just all seems so surreal. But if folks want to listen to you now, whether they're emo or not, old or not, they get a chance to do it here soon. Where are you playing, and tell us about your new album or your new single?
I am playing at Howlin' Mouse the 8th, April the 8th. Gonna be a really fun one. Did it last year. Got like 400 people out to the Howlin' Mouse and had Pothole Paradise, local band, open for me. Incredible band. They just released an album that sounds incredible. But I'm just super excited I love all the shows I do. My favorite show I've ever done was the one at Howlin' Mouse last year. So I'm super excited to run this back. And I just released an album like late January, and I'll be playing that front to back. Really excited to show people like a body of work. Because when I went there last time, I was just playing like the random little singles I had. And it was fun, but it was just me and a drummer. We got me, a drummer, a guitarist, a full-fledged band. It's going to be I'm very excited to show Jackson this.
So where can we find all your places? Because I went to, I guess your Instagram would be one of your larger platforms, correct? I mean, 75,000 strong there is not bad at all for 16. And you're going everywhere to tour. So you're not just centrally located. I mean, you're centrally located, but you're touring sort of all over. And how do you keep up that busy schedule?
I've said this many times, it is like luck. I try to stay on top of things. My mom helps me a lot. My mom gets me up in the morning for flights, yells at me to make sure I'm packed before. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't do without her when it comes to, getting myself ready and putting myself together as like an actual like businessman. But I actually find it really fun. Like to just go out to places and record music and go out to places to perform. So I just perform my little set, hop on the bus, and get ready to go to the next city.
And for what the other people would say, or other people like, oh, but you're missing your childhood, and are you going to regret this? And, sort of all the things. Have you wrestled with that, or are you just on a different wavelength?
Yes, I did wrestle with that for like the last 3 years. The big realization that like lifted a whole weight off my shoulders. The childhood in 2023 is getting popular on TikTok. It's a lot of weird stuff. I mean, it's not like it was even in like
back
2010.
in our day.
Even in like 2010, with the implement of like all this social media, it's almost like everyone's childhood is kind of being forced in a certain direction. So I actually get the time, and obviously it helps to be homeschool, to just get into dumb stuff like play basketball. Like I said, fish. I want to get into jiu-jitsu. Just a lot of like random kid stuff. And I feel like I'm almost going to have more of a pure experience than the people that keep trying to like chase like really the TikTok thing, or like, people are hounded so early nowadays. It just keeps getting earlier. Like 12-year-olds that need to get like perfect grades that are like planning on being a valedictorian. I'm like, hey man, be 12. Right. But it's just, I guess society kind of led kids to where they're working really hard or they're just not working at all nowadays. So I like finding the middle ground.
I feel like you're doing a good job with that. How long have you had the hair?
Probably since a couple months after I was born, it grew in. But yeah, I didn't really grow it out till 5th grade. And I grew it like pretty big in 5th grade. It was actually a lot like straighter for some reason, because I used to like brush it all the time and like try to like have straight hair.
Who's got the curly hair in your house? You don't know?
My dad's adopted, So I just assume both his parents have like very, very curly hair.
You got.
But yeah, I genuinely, there's no one that we know in our family, like even close relation to my mom.
Anybody got the music chops that passed down?
Yes,
Who's
yes.
that?
Uncle Jimbo Mathis, out here. He's actually playing a show right before. Is it at Dueling? The day before 7th at Dueling Hall. But I mean,
can you stick with us, Prentiss? I got to talk sandwiches with you.
Oh,
From
yeah.
one sandwich connoisseur to another. All right, we got more with Prentiss coming up next. Mississippi radio station. And you can always find Prentiss. He's a 16-year-old singer and a rising star online. Prentiss, if you wanted folks, we're probably not TikTokers here on Good Things as much as others, but where would you send folks to say to connect to you and your music if they had to pick a platform online?
Instagram's always great. I'm always posting my shows and stuff, posting new music on Instagram. That's just one Prentiss.
The number one.
Yeah, the number one, Prentiss, Prentiss. That's really about.
And if you are on TikTok, you can find you where?
That's the same at.
So one Prentiss.
Yes.
Okay, so one thing I noticed when I stalked your Instagram, because I knew you were coming here today, and you have, I think, singer, and like the next thing is like sandwich guy, and I was like, oh my God, we're kindred spirits. So what is it about sandwiches that's my favorite food? I think it should be a whole food group. I've never met a sandwich I didn't like. When I was pregnant with both my girls, I'd put everything between two pieces of bread, and the day was great. So like, where did your love of sandwiches come from?
I don't want to say anything corny, but sandwiches are an art. Just like baking is, just like cooking a nice steak is, sandwiches are almost more of an art because you're taking ingredients that, the cavemen wouldn't put together. You're taking ingredients that no one would have put together before sandwiches and just throwing it between two buns or two slices of bread. I've always loved eating sandwiches. I've made sandwiches at the house since I was like 6.
What sandwiches do you make? What were you making at 6 and 7?
I mean, that was just like, your turkey and cheese. There's levels to it. Obviously, I'm not even up there with the sandwich greats, if you will. But
best sandwich you've ever had?
Best sandwich I've ever had. It's actually, I hate to say it because they suck at food. Mississippi's better, but L.A. There's this Italian sandwich. It's the spicy pea at Giada's. This place called Giada's. It's just like a spicy Parmesan. It's really good.
So what's on a sandwich that most people wouldn't think, but Prentiss likes it on a sandwich? What's your odd sandwich edition?
People like a lot of different peppers. The peppers they'll usually use are like red peppers, jalapenos, your banana pepper, your stuff. They'll never pull out a pepperoncini on them. The things you throw on a pizza you get like to the side of a Papa John's. It's a good pepper to have on like a Cuban sandwich or like a turkey and cheese or like Italian. It's like one of the most flavorful peppers there is.
Did you grow when you were growing up? Oh my God, you're 16. Did you ever put the Lay's potato chips in your turkey and cheese sandwich?
Yes, the fries on the sandwich. I've gone to the extreme. Even nowadays, I ran out of bacon, so I put bacon bits on a sandwich. It was a crazy move, but we figured it out.
Do you prefer your sandwiches with sliced bread or hoagie bread?
I like sliced bread if you cook it right.
Because technically, I guess then it becomes a hoagie and it's not a sandwich.
Becomes a hoagie or a sub. I think they're all sandwiches, but like if I'm getting an Italian or a Cuban, I need a hoagie.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Anywhere here in Mississippi that you're like best sandwich shop or has the best sandwich?
Man, I wish I was more tapped into the Mississippi sandwich culture. A lot of the sandwich places that come here go away after a little bit, but. There is. Put one together. What?
Beagle Bagel.
Oh, Beagle Bagel, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't even know why that didn't even come to my mind first. Beagle Bagel, again, since I was like 1, I was eating Beagle Bagel. It's like Subway, but with fresh ingredients and bagels.
And then they toast their bagels left over. Absolutely.
They're
a chicken salad.
They're local, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't know they were local because they're in Oxford and stuff as well.
But they're independent. I think they may be independently owned. But yes, they would be considered a local sort of franchise over maybe your Subways or your other things like that. So if you're going to make one at home, though, if Prentiss is making a sandwich at home, how do you put it together?
You get your regular home ingredients. You just spice it up a little bit. What I like to get is some sourdough bread. I like to put the sourdough. I mean, I don't like to take it to the extreme. I just like to have the best ingredients. So I can break it down by ingredients. Sourdough bread, I like getting that from like Whole Foods. McDade's also has solid sourdough. You can't go wrong with sourdough. Turkey, Whole Foods turkey, best turkey. around. Very good turkey. And then you throw the pepper jack cheese on there. And then you also add cheddar. I got to cut down on my cheese thing, so I'm only on the one slice now. But you do pepper jack and cheddar. Then you do pickles, and then you add a pepper of choice, pepperoncini, whatever. Then you cook it in the pan, put some butter down, make sure you get it like restaurant style, all hot and like buttered up. And then after you do that, you put some mustard and Tabasco sauce on it. So very simple, but all those ingredients are like the Thanos gauntlet. Where he put all the things in his hand and he got all the power.
I feel like when you get to a certain point in your career, Prentiss, where all the country artists have bars in Nashville, I feel like you need to start a sandwich shop.
That's a big plan.
I can't think of a fun name right off the top of my head, but I feel like you'll do that. But I feel like that is going to be your niche, and I will be your first customer.
Oh, please! I've been thinking about this for a while.
For all 16 years.
Yeah.
All right, Prentiss, this has been an absolute pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. If
Thank
people
you
want
so
to
much
go,
for having me on.
again, your Instagram is @1Prentiss to find all the tour dates. But you're coming up April the 8th at
Howlin' Mouse. Yes.
All righty. You just keep in touch. All right.
Thank you all so much.
All right, you guys stick with us. We got more for you up next. You got the boys from 3 to 6. Rhino and I'll meet you back here tomorrow at 2. But until then, I hope you all find time for the good things.